Okay, 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 guys. Okay. oh, oh, ah, I am. The fuck, Tyler Perry? The fuck happened in your life that you feel the need to make 90% of your films like this tripe? What the fuck is the matter with you? It's a laundry list of problems. Anyway, Straw, aka The Last Straw, aka I pretty much reached my last straw with Tyler Perry. It's a Netflix original written, produced, likely produced, and directed and shot out by Tyler Perry. By the way, he did Duplicity earlier this year. He did Divorce in the Black. He also what was the other one? What was the goddamn other one that had the terrible funeral scene? I totally forgot about it. Tyler Perry, by the way, is actually a capable filmmaker. People did point out, I believe, in the comments of my Duplicity review, that Tyler Perry actually has made good movies when he is not left to his own devices and actually is allowed to tell a story, maybe with some, constraint put on him, and they say, hey, just make something actually, at least competent, as opposed to Straw that features actual talent. I do not understand for the life of me, unless he is blackmailing people with lewd like pit or something. I don't know how in the world Tyler Perry is able to get this town. He's like Uwe Boll if Uwe Boll actually thought he was making something good. There's no way Tyler Perry actually can think he's making something good here. There's Taraji P. Henson, who's a tremendous actress. Tremendous. Her filmography. Go to IMDb. She is absolutely great. You have Sherry Shepherd. You have Tiana Taylor, who was in 1001, one of my favorite movies of the last decade. And there's been some great goddamn movies. She plays a detective. Miss Henson, as opposed to Jim Henson's wife, she plays a woman named Janaya, who basically is going through it. She has the absolute worst day as far as her daughter's illness, needing to pay her rent before she's evicted. Her, job is giving her hell. She needs to help her daughter out with school lunch. She needs to basically keep both of her jobs to make ends meet. And it's the absolute day from hell. And we've all had days from hell. Not like this, though. Tyler Perry ramps it up to comically ridiculous standards that I actually had to pause it multiple times within the first 10 to 30 minutes. I was dying laughing. I thought Divorce in the Black at the end of that, I thought that was hilarious in its third act. This was so goddamn hilarious, and it was meant to be serious. And the sad thing is as the film really gets going, and, Janaya ends up in a situation where she's at a bank that basically necessitates hostages, needing to be negotiated out. Yes, it's something that's a lot. It also offers very little because Tyler Perry is not allowed to basically have an original thought without, again, aforementioned constraints put on him. When he is left to do shit like this, it is absolutely hilarious, and it's also a slap in the face repeatedly to people who have actually gone through real life problems. I refuse to believe that Tyler Perry actually has interacted with anybody that has gone through real life problems and has at least bothered to understand them, because there are elements in this as far as, the banking system, fighting against people of color, keeping them down as far as loans and stuff like that. The held to a different standard as far as keeping your job, keeping your time and everything, keeping your balance, having to raise your kids on your own, the healthcare system. There are things sprinkled in that could absolutely work. There is a very, very bigoted cop, even though he doesn't really say anything, he practically is. But there are so many things in this movie that if they had just taken a little bit of time to explore and just breathe a little, there could have actually been something at least halfway competent here. It still wouldn't have been good because Tyler Perry's involved, but there is talent in front of the goddamn camera. I do have to shout Ashley Vischer, who is 1000% beautiful. Good grief. And she tries as a bank teller named Tessa. I haven't even described really what this plot is beyond that little bit, but we just see Janiyah. We see a little bit of a shot of the apartment that's not in the best of shape, shall we say. We see one particular shot of her in a hospital. We see her getting her daughter ready for school, all that, and then all this stuff unfolds. Her job is in absolute turmoil. She gets something thrown at her because, well, let's just say people wanted to, use WIC. WIC is a type of food assistance, I believe, for people with children, if I remember right. Forgive me if I don't actually know all that stuff, like food stamps, depending on your state. And she ends up basically in turmoil with her boss. And then stuff happens. Basically, one particular situation about 20 or so minutes in. Again, I was dying laughing throughout most of this. And I know it was supposed to be treated like, these are serious situations and everything, but it was just so comically over the top bad. I could not help it. I was losing it. I was 100% losing it. And I felt so bad for Taraji, who is tremendous. She is absolutely too stellar to be in something like this. And she acts her ass off in multiple scenes. She just doesn't have any material to sink her teeth into. Tiana Taylor really tries. She's just not giving anything. And Sherry Shepherd, poor Sherry Shepherd. Good goddamn Christ. I mean, Sinbad's in this. And he's been through a lot of health problems. I feel really bad for him. I'm glad he's still here, but man, what a funny guy he was. But genuinely, seems like a nice guy. Feel bad for the health issues he's gone through. But there's a line, 12 to 15 minutes into this, I just got to get through this, that's all. Yeah, that's kind of the theme of this movie. You just have to get through it. If you've seen John Q, you kind of have a little bit of an idea of where this film might go, except there's not the production value of John Q or any other film that deals with race issues and also single mothers and all the single ladies and stuff like that, and just heap melodrama and beat you over the head like a goddamn cookie sheet in an ECW show. It is astonishing what Tyler Perry is able to throw at you, yet simultaneously throws nothing that connects. I am actually baffled by how bad this is. This is still better than Duplicity because at least it looks like it was professionally shot. But the biggest kicker is, before we get into any spoilers, it was filmed over 4 days. I have a question. What did they do for the other 3? Because it seems like this was filmed in one goddamn day. It wasn't filmed in a continuous take. It barely seems like it was filmed at all. I refuse to believe that Tyler Perry was behind the camera when he did this because it actually seemed a little bit of professionalism. I will say that once we get into, the spoiler section, there was a fake out that absolutely just made me say, well, okay, that's something I guess that Tyler Perry wants to do. Because you can't have the movie end on a down note, or can you? Who knows? It's so bad. It's so bad. And this all could have been avoided if somebody would have just listened to her and just given her a chance. But again, none of them act like people. None of them act like people. Like actual people. I am just stunned. And then when it tries to reel back the hurling at you and the comedy, the unintentional comedy, whatever it was, and tries to get serious, you're just dying laughing at the badly delivered dialogue. The amount of bafflingly stupid bullshit that is said in this. It's stunning. It's on Netflix if you want to check it out, if you want to subject yourself to more Tyler Perry tripe. I will check out his good stuff at some point. Please suggest them in the comments if you want, because I kind of forgot. 3, 2, 1, spoilers. So, in the beginning, she seems to be in the hospital with her daughter. She wakes up and is bathing her daughter. Her daughter has health issues such as, asthma, suffering from seizures, that kind of stuff. She was a preemie. She was a premature kid. She tells that aspect a little bit later on. And, yeah, everything is just being heaped on her. Her landlord is yelling at her for not paying the rent. She will push her stuff out in the street, which she must have gotten help to do because it was quite a bit of stuff out on the street a little bit later on. It's not like One of Them Days, which was an actual intentional comedy. I was laughing more at this than I was at One of Them Days, and I really like that movie. I don't know why they're doing a sequel. Oh, wait, money. That's right. And she basically gets yelled at by a customer, for the WIC, the card and stuff like that. because there are certain things you can't get on Wick. It's, God, I forget what the actual terminology is for it, but some stores don't even take that in general, so some people are lucky to find that at all. But even before that, she gives a little bit of change to Sinbad, who's just out on the street, outside the apartment. I don't know if he actually lives there or what. I don't know why he's just there on the side street, but she tries to do something nice. She gets her daughter to school. She waits at the principal, and the principal's kind of looking at her a little bit strange, like, a little bit of a hint, like, wonder why she's here. And then she goes to her job, aforementioned Wick stuff. Some customer throws a goddamn, bottle at her. Just fucking stupid behavior, by the way. I've worked retail at multiple places. That's not uncommon. Not to this level have I dealt with it, but it's not uncommon to have people throw stuff at you. So, she gets a call from the school. She's supposed to go get some money out of her ATM, or out of her account. She doesn't have a lot of money in. She wants to get her paycheck to go pay her rent. The paycheck's $521, by the way, and I wonder how expensive that apartment is, but whatever. She wants to get $40 out. She's having problems with the bank because it's, saying insufficient funds. She needs to get $40 so her daughter doesn't have the, have to get the special lunch, I believe the discount lunch. And I just want to say really quickly before I jump off of my soapbox here, you got the proper funding and everything. Schools should be able to provide lunch to kids. Every kid should be able to have a meal or two, at least during the day, be nourished, and not feel like they're being punished just because there are different classes of income. And I mean, I'm sorry. If things can be afforded, like bullshit for various rich people, or things being sent away for wars, whatever it is, we can afford to take care of kids that are in schools. Regardless of where the kids came from, they deserve to be fed. That being said, off my goddamn soapbox, her boss, Richard's just a full-on dick. She ends up basically getting back after trying to get the $40. It becomes a whole big odyssey. Richard's a dick to her beforehand. She tries to get back in this terrible rainstorm. Terrible rain effects, by the way. You can clearly tell it's CGI rain because it's bright and sunny, and it's really bad effects. But again, filmed in 4 days. And this one officer in a Camaro basically pits her and runs her off and destroys her car. Now, she's trying to fix her car. This other officer, Officer Sam, who made the pants too long, shows up and is trying to get her license and registration. But this cop, without saying any slurs, is basically just saying the next time he sees her, he's going to find a legal way to shoot her. That's just what you want your police to say. It's not. That's not really what should happen. I know the police have to deal with a lot of stuff, but seriously? Now, she does get back, but instead of 30 minutes, it's 2 hours later, and she's trying to go back to her job. He takes her in the office, and he basically ends up firing her. She needs a job. This is the second job that she has. She's trying to do what she can to take care of her daughter. And, oh yeah, by the way, I forgot to also mention that while she was doing something while she was trying to help out her daughter with the lunch money, her daughter gets taken away in foster care, and she's freaking out about this, and, oh my God, how could you do this stuff? And the principal's, she's yelling at the principal, and all this stuff's going on. How could you do this? Which, none of it really makes sense when you get to the ending and what actually the twist is, but whatever. So she's yelling at her boss, and then suddenly this guy, who's supposed to be a customer, shows up and ends up seeing her name tag and mentions her name, Janiyah. Oh, Miss Janiyah, can you help me out? And then he tries to shoot up the office, basically says to the boss, get the money on the desk, out of there, that kind of stuff, out of the safe, and, we want all the money. Well, then she ends up basically snapping, and she ends up shooting one of the criminals while the other one runs away. I assume he just vanishes into the vastness of space, which is where Tyler Perry again should be sent. Guy thought he could be Alex Cross, for God's sakes. But she ends up basically shooting one of the guys, and because the boss doesn't even factor that her name tag is right there, that's how he wouldn't know. He thought she set it up. And then she ends up snapping and shooting her boss. Which, to be fair, the guy was a full-on dick and probably was a terror to work with. So, yeah, sorry, kind of deserved. But Tiana Taylor ends up basically, being a cop, investigating this stuff and whatever. Now she gets her paycheck. She's gotten her paycheck off of the desk, but there's blood on it. Oh, wait, maybe it's slushy stuff, and Tessa is going to cash it, but she doesn't have her ID. So then, yeah, let's just say things aren't going to go all that well, because suddenly she puts a gun on the counter and says, just cash the check. They start to give her all this money. She doesn't want all the money. She just wants $521. She's not trying to rob. And she's got a device that is in her backpack that people are freaking out about because it makes a beeping sound. Her daughter had a science fair. And it turns out, actually, it's not a bomb. It is a science fair project that looked like it was supposed to be like the Challenger. Like how Ronnie Garvin's face went up. If you get it, you get it. And she basically has a whole bunch of people in there. And it's a hostage situation that is just absolutely ridiculous. Tiana Taylor's trying her best. Taraji is trying her best. Miss Henson is trying her best. And she just wants to do stuff for her kid. And this is atrocious. This is just atrocious. It's hilarious. I was dying laughing during most of it because, as melodramatic as it was bullshit. But good goddamn Christ. Oh, and by the way, one of the bank tellers was live streaming this, which, instead of bringing attention to the situation and maybe bringing an end to it, brings a whole bunch of protesters that are saying, free Janiyah, free Janiyah. To be fair, she does have a point as to why she is doing this. She just finally, it was her last straw. And let me tell you right now, it is difficult to drink out of some stuff, and you always want to have a spare straw with you. And you can stab somebody, like in Hard Eyes. God, I should rewatch Hard Eyes. It was a whole lot better than this. So Detective K. Raymond, but I'm just going to call her Detective K, because every case begins with K, if you don't know how to spell. And she says, I know what you're going through. My mother got evicted as well, and she was angry, this kind of stuff. It's hard to fight the system. Sherry Shepherd, by the way, playing Nicole, the bank manager, has known her for years and promises to help get her out of the situation, but they gotta let other people go. Gradually, hostages do get out. This old couple gets out. There's this old lady that was diabetic. She ends up eventually getting out. The supporters are cheering her on. I'm skipping over quite a bit of this stuff because it's really, really fucking bad, and I need to end this because I have a headache right now because I laughed too goddamn hard because I was laughing so hard during the movie, and it was so bad. But, she talks about the hospital insurance. Like, if you don't have insurance, they don't care. They tried to basically get her to do something, sit up and basically try to get her to abort the kid, possibly. Or have the kid be a stillbirth. I mean, some of it might be just her reading in too much into a situation, but a lot of it does seem, reasonable. Like, she's reached her final straws, like everybody's against her. So you kind of can't blame her for feeling the way she does. The thing is, you don't really have any sympathy for any of these characters because none of them seem real, even though they are played by real people. So, the FBI, by the way, does get involved, and one thing that is, going on about this is why she doesn't want to leave the bank is she feels that cop actually is going to go on his, or, make good on his word to kill her. Tiana Taylor and another detective whose name I didn't write down, I don't necessarily care. They do find out, about Officer Sam who made the pants too long, and she describes all, a little bit of stuff but doesn't want to give up the officer, but then eventually says it's Officer Oliver, who has been there the whole goddamn time with tattoos and stuff like that, and Tiana Taylor punches him in the goddamn face. There are people that would be into that. I would prefer Miss Ashley Verscher punching me in the face, but I digress. And I'm sorry I had to look that up, by the way, but I'm starting to really lose, brain cells talking about this movie more. And basically, she finds his file, shows, or his license or whatever, his record, and shows it to Nicole, who shows it to, Taraji's character, Janiyah, and there we go. Everything's good. But then her mother calls her. And tells her, the mother's like, the FBI's at my house. And, what are you talking about? Like, you got to get medicine for your kid. Your daughter died. She died. She had a seizure. All that stuff about her being in the apartment, her helping her with her science project, washing her. The reason the principal was looking at her weird and waving at her and all that stuff. The message from the daughter's school. All of this stuff is, it was poppycock. It was, ridiculous because her daughter had already died. That's why she, reached her last straw. She had all she could stand. She couldn't stand no more. Which makes sense, but the thing is with everything that was already happening, even if her daughter was still alive, she would have already reached her last straw. She feels she has nothing to live for, and Nicole knew, but wanted to talk her out of this stuff. And then suddenly the cops break in and go through the stuff, and they flash grenade, blow up the windows, they get in, and they end up shooting Janiyah. And that's it, until we realize that it's actually not. And then Nicole walks out with her, and she gets arrested. But don't worry, folks. It goes to credits, so you don't know what fucking happened, because nobody really fucking cares, because Tyler Perry is not a filmmaker. He's barely a person. I refuse to actually acknowledge that he will ever do anything good again. I am stumbling over my words because I'm absolutely baffled that this man gets these actors, gets any resources. Even if it's only filmed over 4 days, it still costs something. It cost me almost 2 hours of my life that I'll never get back, yet somehow it's still better than duplicity. That being said, F. It gets an F. It's terrible. Agree, disagree, what I said, like, share, subscribe, Twitter, Letterboxd, Blue Sky handles in the description. I'm John Ritland. Until we meet again, happy trails to you.